Hello, what is up? I think I'm gonna start doing some draft league content for the channel. So today I'm gonna be going over the Island Tour draft in the league I'm in called BFR, Battle Frontier and Resort. So the Island Tour, the way it works is every coach drafts 3 Pokemon that they can bring to any game throughout the season, and then they draft 8 Pokemon that are on their island. And every week you use a different coach's island. So this, for example, is my team and island. So the first 3 are the ones that I have for my travel team that I can bring any week. And then the next 8 are on my island that people will be cycling through, different person will use each week. So I thought I would just run through both mine and then give like small comments on everyone's teams and maybe rank them accordingly. Nothing too serious though. Nothing's scripted. I didn't really think about anything I was gonna say, so we're just gonna start talking and see where it goes. So this is my team. Another thing for the travel teams, you can't have any Paldea Pokemon, and you can't have any Pokemon that were 15 points or more than 15 points. You can have Pokemon that were 15 points. So these are the point costs for the for all my mons, and then we had a budget of 110 points total, 30 points going to the travel team, 80 points going to the island. Yeah, so for my travel team, I didn't really have the biggest plan going into this. I just looked at the top 2 like tiers and thought of a Pokemon I would like. I also didn't have the best draft spot. I think I was like 9th out of 12. So my first pick was Hatterene, mostly just because I really like Hat. It seems pretty bringable to any island that has slow Pokemon. It's like a really good Trick Room setter. Yeah, I mean, last gen Hatterene was just like my favorite Pokemon pretty much, so I figured I kind of just drafted a bunch of guys that I liked. But then for the next 2 picks, I thought of something that would be pretty funny. I saw Primeape was only 6 points, and I mean, it's faster than an Annihilape, almost as strong, and it gets Eviolite. So I thought with Beat Up from Sneasel, that would be like a funny option to bring as like Beat Up Rage Fist. But then Sneasel itself is just like a really good support Pokemon. It gets like if you look over here at all the, like, these are mostly util moves, he's here for like most of them. Fake Out's the big one. Fake Out and Faint I think are really good. He also gets things like, he gets Fake Tears, Icy Wind obviously. Inner Focus is a really big thing, not being able to be flinched and having a Fake Out. Covert Cloak is a new thing that's kind of annoying for Fake Out users, but I still think it's a really good travel mon for 9 points and the utility that you get out of it. But then for my island, I had like a pretty similar drafting philosophy for my travel team as I did my island, whereas I just looked at like the top few tiers and picked Pokemon that I really liked. So Mousehold and Cerulege are 2 of my favorite Pokemon this gen. Cerulege may be one of my favorite Pokemon ever. And then I've also felt like they had some pretty good synergy with just Follow Me, and setup plus setup move in general is really good. And then for my next 2 picks, I picked 2 more Pokemon that I thought they worked decently well together, and I really like them just like as Pokemon, Kingambit and Furrets. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have like the biggest, like I don't have the most strats for this island. It is just a lot of Pokemon that I like, plus like checking a few boxes. So like the first 4 Pokemon especially, and then Azu is like, I felt like I needed to get another fighting resist. Just Cerulege didn't feel like enough. And then also just Azu in general is really good with like Belly Drum, Assault Vest, Life Orb, like Citrus, whatever. Just it can be used in a lot of different situations, and both in and out of Trick Room. I think it's just a good mon. Masquerade felt like a decent pickup for the amount of points it was worth. It gives the team Tailwind and Intimidate, usable special attack stat. What else do you need from a 4-point mon? And then Impidimp was just another. I noticed that it now gets Reflect and Light Screen. It used to not get those. So I thought it was actually like a really good pickup now, whereas before, I felt before you could only run like Taunt, Fake Out, Fake Tears, Foul Play. Like that was your only impetus, like maybe Thunder Wave. You could run like 4 out of 6 moves, but now it has a little bit more utility, I feel like, that it gets Reflect and Light Screen. So for 3 points, I thought that was definitely worth it. And then the Crab, I don't have the most faith in the Crab, but I do think that Wide Guard is actually a really good move, just in general, and for this team, especially with 2 of its best Pokemon being weak to ground, so Earthquake blocking, as well as like Heat Wave, if that's an issue, especially if you have Crabominable on the field. Yeah, it's also just like a usable Trick Room mon, and Ice types should be better since you can just tear their bad typing away. But yeah, I think that Abominable could shine under the right circumstances. So my travel team, I think my travel team's pretty good actually. I don't think it's not amazing for sure. Like there are better first picks than Hatterene, and then like Primeape is kind of gimmicky, and Sneasel's pretty solid, especially for 9 points. But I think A tier is fair for mine. And then I think for my island, I think it's another A tier. I think, especially after having used it, it doesn't look that like overwhelming. But I do think that it's very solid. There's not like a whole lot of gimmicks, but you can just make like a pretty solid team, pretty adaptable, solid team. So I think again A tier. I don't think my stuff is the most busted, but I also don't think it's bad. And now I'll move on to the rest of the draft. If anyone is watching from the draft, don't take it personally if I put your team or your island low. Like, it's very possible that I'm just not seeing something that you are, or like my playstyle is different than yours and I value different things than you, so like it's just for fun. So don't take it too personally. But first off, we have Don Mateo with the Mateo Sandslashes team and the Bounce House Island. So right off the bat, I think Murkrow and Pachirisu both busted picks. Murkrow is just like prankster Tailwind Taunt, like stab Foul Play is just so useful in most situations. It has a lot of different items it can run. It can be Covert Cloak, it can be Heavy Light, it can be Focus Sash. Just a really useful mon in like any situation, pretty much. Like, it has counterplay by Terra Dark, but you're like committing your opponent to having to 1, run Terra Dark, and 2, use their Terra for that, just to not get taunted potentially. And then even then, it's not the slowest Pokemon, so you could just run Super Luck or Insomnia if you really wanted to play around Dark types. But there's also just Tailwind and Haze don't target anything, so you can use them regardless of if your opponent's Dark type. So Murkrow, just in general, incredibly solid for 15 points. The max that anyone could have on their travel team. But yeah, just a very good mon. And then Pachirisu, Follow Me, very good. Super Fang, Encore, pretty good speed, right? 95, yeah, that's pretty solid. So again, I think these two are just like really good mons that you could bring to almost any game. And then you have Lurantis, which like it's not the best mon, but it's also 4 points. So I think for like a Trick Room Sweeper, it's okay. It lost not close combat, superpower, I think. So it's not as good, but it still has Leaf Storm. Honestly, I don't think it has a whole lot else, but for 4 points, it's okay. And then for Matt's Island, it's very good. I think Dondozo Tatsugiri could seem really like easy to prep for in draft, which, I mean, to be fair, even on like ladder, people always bring an answer to boosted Dondozo. Like you have to, pretty much, right? So I really don't think that it hurts it as much as some people might think. How preppable it is, especially because the mons individually on their own are still very good. Like Tatsugiri's 120 special attack, 82 speed, nothing to sneeze at, and Dondozo's bulk without boosts is just still crazy. But then even aside from that, you have Pawmot, which is kind of broken with Terra Electric Double Shock, and it's really good speed tier of 105. So these first three are incredible. And then you also have Flamigo, which you could run like gimmick strat of double boosting, but also it's pretty dangerous in draft where people are probably going to be bringing like Haze or Clear Smog or something to counter your boosts. So that might not be the best use for it, but Scrappy is still a really good ability on a mon with, what, 115 attack? Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. And then these are new additions to the team. I'm going to be talking about the teams as of now, not when they were first drafted. So technically this is week 2, but I think that these are all really good pickups. Hop Up at 1 point, I was looking, and Spuba for some reason is 2. It has like barely better bulk. It has like 60 defense, 55 HP, and then like worse special defense. But Hoppip just gets so many more moves. It gets like dual screens, it gets Rage Powder, it gets Tailwind, it gets like all of the powder moves. And then Spupa, meanwhile, just gets Rage Powder, String Shot, Struggle Bug, which, like, those are decent moves, but I definitely think that Hoppip was the right choice for 1 point less, because he has 1 point left over for his island that he could have used, but I think I stand by the Hoppip pick. Gothrita, also a really solid mon. Just the possibility of threatening trapping is really good. It's a good Trick Room setter. Not that the island has the best Trick Room abusers. Yeah, the only slow Pokemon on the island is Dondozo, which I don't know. Do people run Trick Room Dondozo? I don't know. Staraptor, a solid mon. It has Intimidate, it gets Final Gambit, decent speed, hits hard, Tailwind. So I think Staraptor's pretty solid. I feel like it doesn't do anything like amazing. Like there's better options for all of those roles that I mentioned, but it's still like a pretty decent pickup. Definitely a usable mon in draft. And then last is that I haven't talked about is Cyclozar, which I think I haven't seen enough of Cyclozar and I haven't used it enough to know how good it is, but Shed-Tail plus Regenerator just sounds so good. Especially if you have like a mon that could abuse it, like maybe a Belly Drummer or something that like is comfortable just taking a hit, coming out with a sub so that it can take a hit. Although I guess the fact that it's so fast, it's like the opposite of the Earthworm. You're probably going to be losing the sub on the switch in, so maybe that's kind of why I'm not as sure about how to use it and how good it is. But overall, I think Matt's honestly, I think for both of these, both his travel team and his island are S. I think they're very good, very flexible. They have like a lot to them. Maybe like comparatively to mine, maybe a little less like overall solid, but the amount of gimmicks that are in it just makes prep a nightmare, which I think I value a good amount. All right, so next we have Coolio with the Mushroom Kingdom Toadschools and Yoshi's Island. I really like the island names and team name and everything. It's funny. Okay, so Floats was 3 points. Okay, so for Coolio's travel team, he has Sableye, Floats with Caesar. At first, I wasn't really sure about the Floatzel pick, just because like the island has rain, but your travel team doesn't. But looking at this thing, I mean, it's fast enough to where you don't really need Swift Swim, right? And 105 attack is respectable for sure. So I think for 3 points, I can't knock it too hard as a pick. I don't know exactly how much utility it gets. It looks like from here it gets Switcheroo, Taunt, Helping Hand, which like is okay, especially for 3 points. But Sableye and Caesar, I mean, I guess with Sableye you do kind of have rain, right? Because Prankster Weather is pretty solid. I really like the Sableye pick, assuming it still gets Squash. Okay, yeah, it still gets Squash, which is really good. Sableye, I think, is another just like really solid. You can bring it to pretty much any game. And then Caesar, I'm not sure how I feel about Caesar in draft. I mean, it gets Tailwind again, so that makes it pretty valuable. And then it also can hit pretty hard with 130 attack. Yeah, I think the travel team is good. I just don't know if I personally would pay that many points for Caesar Sableye. It feels maybe just a little underwhelming, but this could definitely be a situation where I don't know what I'm talking about, because I've hardly ever seen Caesar in VGC. So I think the travel team I'm gonna put in tier under mine. I might relabel these just because I don't think no one's gonna have like a D tier team. I'll rearrange stuff at the end, depending on how I feel like as a whole. Okay, but for the island, very rain heavy island with Barraskewda, Golduck, Pelipper, as well as even like Fungus, just for resisted fire, and Arboliva to an extent. 2 ghost type faster Trick Room setters, and Raichu for Lightning Rod, which I think is very good. Honestly, I think this team synergizes really well between itself. It might benefit from a different Trick Room setter, just in case you wanted to run like Arboliva, Fungus, Slow Pelipper or something. But overall, I think I really like it. You got good fake out support, fake out Encore, Thunderwave, Light Screen Reflect. Really good supportive move both from Raichu, as well as like a passable both attacking stats and speed. Barraskewda, this thing hits like a truck, especially in rain. And for Palatail, honestly, underrated ability, because you're already so fast. Being able to avoid Ignore, Follow Me, Rage Powder, Storm Drain, all very useful circumstances. So like, I think Barraskewda is a great mon. Pelipper, you know, sets rain, Hurricane, whatever. Arboliva, I think Arboliva was a great pick for where it is. It has a lot of unexplored potential, I feel like. Mischievous, I don't see the most uses for. Gengar is a great mon. And then Golduck, I wasn't the biggest believer in, but I saw Coolio's week 1 match, and Golduck was pretty sick in that. So I think overall it's a pretty solid pick. For Coolio's Island, I think it's definitely at least a... Where is it? I think it's at least A, and I'm not gonna like order in the tiers. So next up we have Electric with the Kanga Bangas at the Rokunjima Island. So this is the draft that, this is like my dream draft, you know? If I could, I would give it points for the theme, but I'm gonna be more objective. Sylveon, great mon. Very, very good. In Trick Room, out of Trick Room, like, doesn't really matter. It has enough bulk to live hits and do crazy damage back. Throat Spray is a really good item for it. Gets Fairy type Quick Attack, which has uses for sure. For a travel team, I just don't think it's versatile enough. I mean, Espeon is fast screen support. Vaporeon probably gets Yawn, right? Or like all the EVs do, right? All the EVs get Yawn? Yeah. So like bulky kind of support, some level of offense. I just don't know if they do enough, especially for a travel team. So while I absolutely love the theme, I think this might be on the lower end for the travel teams. As for the island, though, I think that because all of the EVs are so cheap, like especially the bad ones, it let him get mons that are actually really good for a lot of points, and then Umbreon and Jolteon are actually like very usable in VGC. Even Flareon, I think, just because of how hard it can hit, and then like the usable Trick Room speed, is probably worth more than Leafeon for sure. I think Glaceon could also be underpriced at 3. Just because of how much better snow is now. But the island itself doesn't really have any snow support, so that kind of doesn't matter as much unless you have something on your travel team that can make really good use of Snowscape. I don't know how much synergy there is between all these mons. I mean, you could do like ground type Gyarados Discharge, or like Earthquake Gyarados next to Dragonite. I do think that these 3 mons just like carry this team hard. I think that they're very good at what they do. And even if you prep only around like these 3 Pokemon, they're still hard to deal with. So for that alone, I think that this can go... Oh, this is spotty. This can go in at least A, I think. I just don't know how much synergy there is exactly. I mean, Rage Powder next to Dragon Dance is probably really good. Yeah, I mean, there's probably more here that I'm missing, but just at face value, I just don't see the most synergy. But I do think that there's a lot of individually really good mons here, and even like usable mons under the right circumstance. Next up, we have Towers with the Non-Falinksable Tokens and Ingerland Island. For the travel team, he has Arcanine, Morgan, Frostless, which Arcanine, really good mon. It's really versatile, especially now, even more so offensively. I know last gen it had the justified gimmicks, but I think just the raw power behind Terra Normal Extreme Speed is more consistent than beat up strats. But just in general, being able to intimidate, you get Will-O-Wisp, you got recovery, you get snarl. Arcanine is just a really solid 15-point mon. I definitely think that was a good travel team pick. You can just like throw it on most teams and it'll be helpful. And then similar things between Morgrem and what I was saying about Impidimp for my island. Morgrem now gets both Light Screen and Reflect. It has Fake Out, T-Wave, Taunt. All of these things are very useful for prankster Pokemon to have. And for a travel team, I think it'll come in handy how versatile it is. Process, on the other hand, I wasn't the biggest believer in. I was actually looking at my options between Frostless and Sneasel. They're actually like very comparable. They get like the exact same support moves. Sneasel gets Fake Out and Faint, but then Frostless gets like a few more. It also gets Frost Breath, which if anything has Anger Point, which Primeape does, which is why I was looking at it kind of. It's just a very funny potential strat. Yeah, I think my issue with Frostless is just how like middling all of its stats are. Even for like its speed is fast, but it's not like the fastest, which I think can be annoying at times. All that being said, I think between Frostless and Morgrem, you'll find use on the team for at least one of them. I do think Arcanine is passable as your only offensive mon on your travel team. The immediate synergy between these three, I don't fully see. It feels like you're really counting on your island that you're getting to have the synergy for you, and then these three mons will just like make it work better in a way. I think that this could probably go in the same tier as mine. I think it's about pretty similar to mine in terms of travel teams. The island, though, I think the first... Actually, that's not even true. I think all of these picks are really good. I don't have the most faith in Falinks, I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, Towers. But for 5 points, it's like, it's fine. Like, it does whatever. It has Defiant. That's good. But Garchomp, Rotom Heat, Corviknight, all of these three, especially together, are just so good. You got rock resists, you got ground immunities, you got electric resists, like fire resist. Just these three together, I think, work really well together. You got Disquake, Weavile. It's like Sneasel, but it can get flinched, but it's stronger. So it gets all the same support stuff that I was saying earlier, plus it actually does damage, and is faster. So Weavile, I think, it's a good mon. It's not quite the same, just because you would have to run Covert Cloak to not get flinched, and usually I feel like Weavile is more offensive than supportive, but it can be both, which I think is important to know. Yeah, I don't think Go-Goat's good, but also it's 2 points, so who cares? And then you got Haunter, which I think it gets good support moves, Trick Room, Trick, Destiny Bond. Like, you can run a lot of weird sets with it. It also has like a good special attack stat, so like a Shadow Ball from that thing isn't doing nothing for sure. Overall, I think this team is really good. Is it as good as Matt's? Probably, maybe. It might be as good as Matt's. Just like the top Pokemon are just so good. Okay, I think the difference is between Matt's Island and Towers Island is that I could see every Pokemon on Matt's island being brought for one reason or another. I don't think Go-Goat like ever really comes. Okay, I think I have updated these the way that they're gonna be for now. So this is how I rearranged it for now. Honestly, I don't remember where I was. Towers Island, pretty good overall. Moving on. Winter. Winter's travel team. I think it's pretty good. I think Mimikyu is decently flexible. Has like a passable attack stat, it gets Swords Ink, it gets Bulk Up. Its ability is really good. It gets good support moves like Taunt, Trick Room. I don't know if I would spend 14 points on it personally, but I do think that it has a lot of versatility that it can bring for a travel team. Vivian, I think similar that it brings a lot of value for a travel team with Friend Guard, even Compound Eyes for Sleep Powder, but Friend Guard with Rage Powder, and it gets Struggle Bug, String Shot, Tailwind. Overall, just a pretty solid mon. And then Zangoose is probably similar to like I was saying about Lurantis, and that like it's not the best mon. It has like a niche that it can sometimes fill, but also it's only 4 points. So all things considered, not a bad mon. Terra normal toxic boost Facade probably kills anything. Like this is probably on the same tier as mine for travel team. And the island, Belione Island, it's very winter. You got Titan, Abomasnow, Baxcalibur for a very solid snow core. You got Flashfire, Houndoom. You got Well Baked Body, Dash Bun, Amoonguss. Is Amoonguss a good Ailmon? Oh, it's good for Titan for belly drum stuff. Drowsy is here. It's true. Drowsy's here. It's Rotomosh is a really good mon. I think this island is very solid. It's like similar to Coolio's in level of weather compatibility. The mons on Coolio's team are more conventionally seen as good, but I think Snow is actually a lot better now. I think there's stuff that this island can do even outside of Snow. If you have the right travel team or the right matchup, we can put Winters also in A+. Alright, next we have Nova with the Melbourne Metangs on Nova's island. Nova's travel team, I didn't fully understand. I see obviously there's synergy between these two. You can like Aquajet yourself, but also it's Colossal, and even last gen when Colossal was like actually supposed to be good, I still didn't think it was any good like at all. When I drafted it, it was just annoying. Like you had to build around it. Anyway, it's a lot different in this gen now that there's no Dynamax. Weakness policy is not quite as good, but it does force prep at least. Having to deal with Steam Engine +2, +2, +6 Colossal is definitely something you have to take into consideration. The Tyranitar pick on a travel team, I didn't really get. Tyranitar is a really good mon, even without a Sand-specific team, and it does give the special defense boost to Colossal, so there is like some level of synergy in this travel team. I just personally don't like Colossal. Especially without Dynamax, how much damage are you doing to yourself? 73 attack? That's not nothing. I definitely I could see this travel team serving Nova well, but I think for me personally, I just don't like it. Like personally, this is not something that I would want to use, but I could definitely see it working well for someone else. As for their island though, I think their island's really fun. You've got the Grafai Slacking combo. Salamence and Grimmsnarl are just really good mons in general. Same with Bronzong. Rotom Mow is probably like the worst Rotom. Well, not the worst. Well, between this and Fan, one of those two is probably the worst now. Still a decent mon though. Like usable speed, good support moves, double screens, Will-O-Wisp, T-Wave, Trick, all like passable supporting movesets. And then Glimmet 105 special attack is nothing to ignore. This was my first matchup, and let me just say this thing hits a lot harder than you would think. Pretty sure the one I fought was Specs. I didn't do any calcs, but I'm almost positive that it was. But it did some damage. Yeah, I think this is just a really fun team overall. I found out that Doodle goes through Protect, so that makes it a lot better with Slacking. You can't just like double Protect to force the Truant, or like predict the Doodle with Protect and then force the Truant. Yeah, I think this island's really good. It has its own little gimmick, and then it has solid supporting pieces for you to make your travel team shine, like Salamence, Grimmsnarl, Bronzong. Magneton, I'm not really sure what it does. It has like good special attack stat, but its speed and its defenses, like they're all okay, but it's not slow enough to be Trick Room. It's not fast enough to be out of Trick Room. So it just kind of is here. I don't quite get the Magneton. This island is very volatile after fighting it. Like it's really strong. You have to make good reads in order to not just get like overpowered by Prankster Slaking or whatever ability Slaking. Yeah, I think this island, it's probably on the same level as mine. I think that's fair. Alright, next we have Blake with the Lavaridge Lanturns on the island of Australia. So Blake has Indeedee Male, Ditto, and Metacham for their travel team. I think this is a really interesting travel team. You have Metacham, which is like decent with Fake Out and Skill Swap Pure Power. It also like it can hit decently hard. It gets Trick Room, Quick Guard apparently. And then Indeedee, which is a solid offensive mon. It also is another Trick Room setter. And then Ditto, which I'm not sure how it'll be in this meta. I'm not totally sold on this travel team. I think it's okay, but you're really relying on either your opponent's team or the island that you're getting to do anything. Just because Indeedee Male isn't the best mon. So I think this one will go here for me. And then for their island, however, I think their island is actually pretty broken. Indeedee, Armrouge, Garganical, Teodscools, even Bisharp, all really good Trick Room mons. Indeedee, Armrouge alone is just like super hard to deal with, even if it's just like the basic follow me, wide guard, armor cannon, expanding force, whatever. Like it's just such a good combo. And then paired with Garganical and Trick Room is just so hard to deal with for some teams. There is a You like Ice Q and Zoroark, I'm not really sure what they're doing. Zoroark, it depends on how the game works. I'm pretty sure in Sword and Shield, I don't know if they changed it, but you were able to like hit info and you could see that your opponent's Pokemon was a Zoroark, at least on cart. I think Showdown works the way that it should, which is not how things should be, but yeah, I mean, Zoroark is interesting. It does add a level of mind games to Team Preview. And then Hawlucha with Psychic Terrain is pretty solid. Makes it a very fast user of Encore or whatever other supporting moves it gets. I think it's like Feather Dance, I guess. But also you could Follow Me Swords Dance next to a Unburdened Hawlucha, and that's pretty solid too. Overall, I think this island's really solid. The only question mark is Ice Hue. I really just don't know why it's here. Maybe it's just something I'm not seeing. Yeah, I don't quite get the Ice Cube, but everything other than that is really good, I think. I mean, it's... Oh, this is also Rage Powder. I mean, not that you would almost ever need that because you have Indeedee. Yeah, I think... Yeah, I think this can go higher. I can go there. Lots of good islands, I think. I don't think there's any bad islands, to be honest. Alright, next up we have Fadi with the Frontier Furrets and the Darklands, because Fadi just got sniped over and over and over. So for the travel team, we have Klefki, Hexer, Stantler. And I think Prankster's screens for a setup Hexers could be really good. Klefki in general is just a really good support mon. It gets like Foul Play, Dazzling Gleam, Dual Screens, Thunder Wave, Switcheroo. And then Haxorus just gets really good coverage and First Impression, Earthquake, Dragon Dance, Swords Dance. Very solid attacker. And then Stantler, it's a decent Intimidate user. It's gotta be pretty bulky with Avulite. Yeah, I mean this is decent bulk for sure. Sapsipper and Frisk are also very usable abilities in draft. Frisk especially, it's really nice to know what your opponent's running. So I think this travel team's pretty solid. I think I like it about as much as I like mine and Winters. Yeah, I think that's a good spot for it. As for the island, Body isn't happy with this island. He thinks it's really bad. He really just wanted a funny like boom burst next to a ghost type strat for some reason, which I don't know, man. I see a lot in this team. Like Lilycole alone, in my opinion, is just broken. Like I just think that the possibility of having either after you Lilligant Eruption Torkoal or like an offensive Lilligant with a Terra to beat a type that Torkoal can't is just really hard to deal with. But that's not even mentioning that you have Annihilate, which is just such a good mon with like Final Gambit, Rage Fist, Bulk Up. Like there's a few different sets that are all just really broken. It's a good user of like 10 different Terra types, and then you even have Rabska with Revival Blessing to bring it back if you wanted to Final Gambit something and then bring out Rabska. Revival Blessing it back. You can bring it literally right back onto the field if you put these two next to each other. Scovillain is another really cool pick, I think. It gets like Rage Powder, it gets Moody, it has Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll use only fire type Chlorophyll mon, which I think is really interesting. You have two bad Intimidators. Not really sure what Quillfish is doing here, to be honest. Like Taunt is okay, Destiny Bond is funny, but its stats are just not really there. Even if you did have Rain, like I don't think that really makes it that much better either. Oh, actually, it's a Eviolite user now, so that makes it slightly better. Still not my favorite pick, but the rest of the team I really like this much especially. And I think the Dunsparce is funny. He has like a few interesting like gimmicks that you can do with him. It gets Tailwind for some reason, so that's cool. Then Squawkability, it's like a decent for 4 points. It's okay. It has Intimidate, Hustle. It can hit like decently hard. It has like passable speed. Overall, I really like Fadi's team, even if he doesn't. I think this is another one that I'm gonna put here just because there is like a few picks that I like really just Quillfish, maybe Squawkability. I'm like not fully sold on, but I do really like the rest of the team. All right, 3 more. Next we have Radlup with New York Sleepers on Swag Island. Radlup's travel team has Talonflame, Gallade, Bronzor. I think Talonflame is a really good travel mon. Another Prankster Tailwind mon with like also just Prankster not Prankster Priority Tailwind mon with Priority Bravebird as well, or like I don't know if it still gets dual wing beat, but Priority Flying type in general is really cool. Gallade I think is pretty solid. It can be a Trick Room setter. It has really good offenses now with sharpness. I'm not fully sold on how strong it is yet. I need to like see more of it to know if sharpness makes it like a good mon or just like better. But 50% boost is pretty solid. And then Bronzor, which I think for 2 points is a pretty solid Trick Room setter. It gets dual screens. Like, it's not gonna do much other than get taunted, but for 2 points, it's pretty solid. Overall, I think the travel team is... I think it's good. How good do I think it is? I think it's here. I just don't know enough about how good Gallade is to put it higher. For the island, I like a lot of the picks. This is just here because it's 1 point, but everything else I think is really solid. This is the wrong water fighting type. You should have gotten Quackleval for all 3 starters, but Tauros is pretty cool too. Repavroom, I don't have the most faith in just because it doesn't do a whole lot and it's quad weak to like ground moves, Earthquake. I guess it gets Parting Shot, but it really doesn't do a whole lot, it doesn't feel like. The rest of the team though I think is really solid. Like these first 6 mons I think are really, really solid. Yeah, I don't specifically see any like any exact synergies necessarily. You have 2 Anger Point users and no way to proc except for a super effective, really strong attack from Meowscarada, but I mean that's just like a gimmick, so it's not the biggest deal. I think yeah, despite there not being like direct gimmicks or like synergies between these mons, I do think that they're all like really solid and you can just build like a good team around them. You definitely don't need gimmicks to do well in draft. You can just build like a good team and it'll work just fine, which I think these 6 really let you do. I'd probably put this another A+ tier. No. All right, I'll fix this soon. I'll probably make a cut at the end of the final thing. We're just gonna put you there for now. Next we have Jace with the Gholden Goats on Gabagool Island. So Jace has Hariyama Drifblim Persian, which this is the first travel team that I think is like I really like Jace's travel team. Hariyama, Broken Mon, Fake Out, Wide Guard, Incredible Trick Room Mon, has 3 really good abilities. Drifblim, another really good Mon in my opinion. Unburden, Strength Sap. I think it got access to an actual flying move this gen. It could technically be physical or special. Just a really good Mon in general, in my opinion. Both for support, it gets Tailwind, or offensively from like Weakness Policy Unburden. And then you have Persian, which I think is another like really good support Mon. It gets Fake Out, it gets Icy Wind, Taunt, just a lot of really good support moves. I feel like with a good speed, it's not doing no damage, I guess, with its support moves, you know? Like Technician boosted Fake Out is like more than nothing. It's more than just a flinch, you're doing some damage with it. But in general, I think this is a really good travel team. Jace's Island, however, I think it's decent. I'm not the biggest believer in Tinkaton. Rotom fan, not a big fan of Lucario. It's another strong Terra Normal extreme speed user. Not quite as strong as Arcanine. Oh, actually, they're the same base attack, okay. But definitely not as bulky. Nowhere near as bulky as Arcanine. It does get good priority with like Bullet Punch, Vacuum Wave. Some decent abilities. Salazzle, another one that I'm not like the biggest believer in. It's like fast Fake Out. It has decent support, like Taunt, Helping Hand, Corrosion. And then you have like a little bit of a snow or rain mode with Slowking and Beartick. Which another Mon that I'm just not the biggest believer in. I mean, 130 base attack is pretty good for a Slush Rush Swift Swim Mon. It's just 50 speed is not the greatest. Hydreigon is definitely a good pick for sure, and I think Teodscools is a pretty decent Mon. I just don't know if I see how it all works together, I guess. Like a lot of these Mons individually seem annoying. I just don't know if I see the whole picture, but this is probably just me not not seeing it because Jace is a crazy drafter whose teams are always broken. So this is probably here, but I'll put it here because I don't like it. Sorry, Jace. Alright, last team is Keith with Singlehorn Express and Anxious Millennial Cowboy Island. So his travel team, I think it's pretty solid. You got your Sand Core and your travel team, which is interesting for sure. And then you got Jumpluff, which is a good like Rage Powder, Sleep Powder, just like annoying Mon, Strength Sap, Tailwind. Pretty versatile. Not best like defensively. I mean, not bad, but its typing is just really bad, right? It is a flying type, so you could launch off like Earthquakes next to the rest of your travel team. But Lycanroc, what's the strat? It's like you could probably do the Endure strat with Hippowdon and Lycanroc, right? So that's a gimmick that people have to be aware of in just your travel team. As for like versatility though, I don't know how many games you'll want to bring sand on other people's islands. Like it's not always the best synergy. So while it works really well together, I don't know how well it'll work with everything else. similar to like Nova drafting T-Tar, which is a better mon than Hippo, but more synergy in the team, the travel team itself. So I think this travel team, I'd probably put same as Coolio's, or maybe no, yeah, yeah, I think that's good. That's probably fine for now. Then the island has some really good mons. Like Gholden people say is like the best mon in the format. And then Dragbolt, which I think is still a really good mon even without Max. But then it also has things like Bombardier, Toxicroak. I mean, Bruxish isn't that bad just because it has a good ability and like usable attack stats. But I just don't get what Toxicroak does, especially on this team. Like one of its better things, I guess, would be Dry Skin, but there's not really any good like surf synergy or anything like that. Which maybe that's not even true. Maybe Toxicroak does other things, and I just don't know because I truly don't know what this mon does. Like, it gets Fake Out, gets Taunt, Faint, I guess, Knockoff. It gets Naskplat and Sword Sands, I'm pretty sure, which like is okay, but its speed is just not enough in my opinion. Yeah, I think Fire Tauros is actually really good. And I also think Ursaring is another good pick, especially with Eviolite now. It's like super bulky with like really good attack stats. And then Skiploom, similar things to like Jumpluff and Hoppip that I said before. It gets all the same support moves, Rage Powder, Encore, Switcheroo, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really see what this island is supposed to do. I mean, I have to use it this week, so hopefully I figure it out, but there's just a few mons that I just don't like on it. So I think, I don't know, man. Gholden is really good, Dragapult's good, Tauros is good. I just really don't like these picks, especially. I'm gonna take a look through and see if I change my thoughts. All right, so I'm back with my final thoughts, final placements. I think these are the travel team placements. The best being Jace's, I really liked it. And then I think I really only moved myself up one. Everything else stayed pretty much the same. The island teams, though, I'm pretty sure I moved around a little bit. I don't think there's any bad islands for sure. Like, I think all of the islands are good. I just think Bradleps is really solid, and Matt's is really good. He just has like really good mons. So many gimmicks, so many possible gimmicks to have to prep for. The weather teams, I think, all did really good with their islands. Towers Island is really solid. The Trick Room, Indeedee, Arm Rouge, Garganical is really good. And then like the ones at the bottom, they're not bad. I just don't think that I would be the best at using them, especially like these two. I just don't get them. And then this one is just held back by Leafeon. But still really good. These are just my opinions based off of essentially just the vibe. I really didn't put that much research into any of this, and I didn't look at it for too long. Whatever you see in this video is the amount of time I put into thinking about these teams. So like if you drafted stuff for a reason and I didn't see it, like good, keep it up here. Or tell people that are using your island so that you can get more points when people win with it. All things considered though, I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. Week 1 was really fun, so I think I'll probably commentate over the replay of that, and then in the future I think I'll try and record the weeks as they go. But yeah, if you enjoyed this kind of stuff, let me know. Leave a like, comment on telling me why your island is better than where I put it. Tell me why your travel team is better than where I put it. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next video, I guess.